Courtney Thomas. Thanks for hanging out today. Today I want to talk a little bit about friendship. I want to tell you a story about friendship, both early in life and as adults, which, by the way, is a super common topic that comes up between me and a lot of my possibly ironically friends, a lot of clients, a lot of folks that I meet and engage with on the internet all over the place. So I know this is probably a conversation that's pretty relatable. This story might hit you in the feels a little bit too, or you might be able to identify with parts of this. So as a little bit of background, it's something that I have shared a lot in my writing, in my emails, blog posts, even sometimes on social, that I have struggled a lot with friendship in life from a very, very young age. I never really was good at making friends. I didn't have a lot of friends. I was not a popular person, which not that that is a meaningful thing, but like I didn't have a lot of people to hang out with. I was an only child. That makes me somewhat socially awkward sometimes. Or, you know, not, I guess, the best at like engaging in the ways that were more commonplace. All of that basically led to not having a lot of friends throughout school, and that being definitely a big challenge for me. And for sure, a huge insecurity of mine. Like, why don't people like me? Why doesn't anybody want to hang out with me? What's wrong with me is ultimately what that comes down to. So, you know, certainly from a very young age, and then even through high school, I really had just like kind of a few friends. Like I would say like 2 BFFs in high school and a few more people that I hung out with, but I really kind of struggled with it. So when I got to college, certainly same. But as a little bit of background there, I was very lucky that, I don't know, all the stars in the universe aligned, certainly. And I met who eventually became my college roommate and definitely my dearest best friend in the world at a business camp, a summer business camp at the college that we went to the summer before our senior year of high school, which like super nerdy. And I know you've already seen here, I'm into business stuff, so it would make sense that I went to a summer business camp in high school. Anyway, the now woman that I roomed with there when we were both kids, I swear, 17, was my roommate then. And I, like, as scary as it was even at that time, because again, like I was so insecure about friendship, I asked her if she might want to room in college because we could request roommates on our applications, and like shockingly she said yes. And so that was actually really great. So I had at least one built-in friend going into college. And what was doubly great then was that I went away from home for school, but she was not that far from home. So a lot of her high school friends came to the same college, and I had kind of like this small built-in friend group of like people that we would hang out with and whatever. And that was really nice. So interestingly, I definitely never felt like I fit into that, like at all. Even though we lived in the same room, which I mean, if you went to college, it's like what, like a 12 by 12 room. They're very small, close quarters. You certainly get close with this person. But I just was like so sure that I never fit into this group. And to a certain extent, I'm sure that I didn't, you know, I mean, it's like kind of hard to really like not break into a group of people, but to like truly become like, you know, a part of their world if they have known each other since middle school, high school, whatever, and are already very close and have like shared history and all that kind of stuff. And that's just a reality. Like you kind of can only go to a certain level, right? So where I'm going with all of this is that like we had a really good time. We shared a lot of great memories. We had some fun. I was still kind of a nerd in college and certainly missed out on plenty of fun opportunities, but I did come out of it with like these wonderful connections, and we stayed in touch more loosely than I would always have preferred, because I always considered her like this amazing person who like I just absolutely loved, but I felt like, oh, well, you know, she was just my roommate and like, you know, she like put up with me kind of a thing. Okay, fast forward like a million years. And this year she got married. And also we had really reconnected more deeply like a couple years ago, actually my husband and I, and then she and her now husband, went to Machu Picchu and went to Peru and did the Inca Trail trek together and all this kind of stuff. So we had reconnected and started kind of rekindling our friendship, which, by the way, again, a million years later, like 15 years later, I still felt very, very insecure about. So this year, not out of nowhere, but like kind of, I don't know, we expected that they would be getting married, right? My husband and I. And so they finally call us and they're like, yeah, we're getting married and, blah, blah, blah. And they asked me if, one, I wanted to be a bridesmaid, which I was like, oh my God, of course. Like, I never expected that. We knew we would probably get invited to the wedding, but I was like, wow, that's huge. Like, I've never been a bridesmaid. That's like a big, meaningful friend thing that, again, I like never felt I was important enough for in any of my friendships. And then they asked me if I wanted to officiate the wedding, which, like, I'm pretty sure my response was like, well, yes, but like, are you sure? And also, do your parents know? But what an honor, And I feel like maybe at that point, finally, it started to kind of maybe like sort of switch around in my head a little bit that like, maybe this person is actually one of my closest friends and considers me one of her closest friends. I'm not sure about that. Hold for a second, but like, this is kind of a big deal, right? So then again, fast forward another couple months to the wedding weekend itself. And here's where this story really comes full circle. Okay, so all this insecurity about friendships, not only earlier in life, but I carried that all throughout my life, not only with this one person, but literally with every other person that I've ever encountered. I've told myself this story of, I'm not likable, I don't make friends easily, I don't have a lot of friends, nobody likes me, all this kind of stuff, right? So and then going back to this group of people, all the same people from college, from high school, whatever, are going to be at the wedding, of course, and several of them are bridesmaids, and I know we're going to be spending time together, and I was nervous as hell, right? Like, I was always the outsider. It's okay, I'll be there, they'll be nice, and like, include me because they're obligated to do that because the bride asked me to be there. But it's fine. I'll just like smile and engage and it'll be fine. But whatever. I'm just like here for the ride. And so, I kind of like protected myself against that, set my expectations a little bit, and, got to the weekend, and the first event that we went, I say like whatever, we went to like a meditation in class or something. It wasn't an event. Anyway, but we all kind of show up and like, people were genuinely excited to see me. That was weird, unexpected. I'm not sure why. It shouldn't be, right? But again, in that moment already, something started to change in my brain and like maybe let down a little bit of whatever walls I had maybe put up. Like, oh, like maybe these people like me as much as I like them. And with each subsequent thing, like this lovely dinner that we then had with all the bridesmaids that evening and spending time with each other. And at that point, really, so much became clear to me. It was, I don't know, life-changing. Like, I'm still sitting here, like, kind of getting a little verklempt. Name that sketch. Because I was thinking in my mind, like kind of reliving some, like a certain set of memories, right? Like these certain parties or these certain things that we did in college or these certain hilarious things or whatever that I was like, oh, well, they must have had a whole ton of other experiences that I wasn't a part of, that they're, like whatever, all this kind of stuff. Well, guess what came up at this dinner that we all had? It was like all of the things that actually I was still involved in and that I actually was a part of. And I was a part of this shared history with this incredible group of people. And in that moment, and then of course throughout the rest of the weekend, it was like all the walls fell down, like the floodgates opened, and I started to see, like, I was seeing everything through my certain lens, right? Of this story that I had told myself, how insecure and scared I was. Like, what I had said to myself for my whole life was, I'm not good at making friends. I don't have a lot of friends. So guess what happened in my life? I didn't make a lot of friends and I didn't have a lot of friends because guess what? I didn't allow myself to. And however you want to think about that, or if you like kind of bristle at that whole idea of like allowing things or abundance or these stories that we carry and how they affect our real lives, like, let me tell you, that stuff is real. Not, I mean, to such an extreme level that if this is something, again, that's resonating with you right now, like, stop and think about it for a second. Because for me, again, sample size 1, right? But again, I have a lot of friends who I can share plenty more stories and clients who have worked through similar situations. When you're able to like remove that lens and have some type of an experience, in this case, again, it's this weekend filled with love that made me see that I was the one who was holding myself back from better friendships, more quality friendships, because I was so convinced in my own head that people wouldn't want to be my friend. Meanwhile, most of that time, they had been telling me like, no, you're actually really great and you're one of my closest friends. I love having you in my life, but I didn't want to listen to it because of my own stuff, which, you know, do I need that stuff? No. And again, this was like one story, one experience that really changed my world. I was able to see that I was the one who was holding it back. I was the one who had built the wall. And if I let that go even a little bit, my experience might legitimately change in my real life. Not only for this friend and this, again, incredible group of people, but for everybody else in my life. And really, my husband drove the point home, which I always say, like, somebody put this guy in the payroll because he just nails it every single time. I hope you have somebody like that in your life. The maid of honor in her speech at the wedding said something along the lines of basically the bride is a person who is just, she's so fun, she's so inspiring, she's so unique and different and cool and funny and interesting and just like absolutely everything that you would want in a friend and in someone in your life. And when she chooses you to be in her life, look at, I cried during the speech and it makes me want to cry now. You just feel like, I can't believe she chose me. And I was crying during her speech because the maid of honor absolutely nailed it. That was absolutely 100% accurate. But I was telling Marty, kind of recapping, Marty's my husband, I was kind of recapping like, oh, I thought that was so great and that was so accurate and I loved it. And he was like, but didn't you ever think that maybe she felt that way about you? And I was like, no, just straight up, no, absolutely not. That thought never crossed my mind that anybody, her or anybody else in my life might feel that way. Never crossed my mind. And again, that was kind of like this watershed moment that was like, oh, but like, if I think about it, again, this specific instance of even her asking me to be a part of her wedding, be a part of it in such a meaningful way, that probably speaks to that a little bit. When I thought back to quite a few other friendships of people who have literally told me, I'm so glad you're in my life. You are an incredible person. You always make me think of things. I'm so happy. I can talk to you about things I can't talk to anybody else about. Things like that. It all kind of like started coming in because again, I've got this whole different lens like, oh wait, there's a different story going on here. And so while my first response was like, no, I never thought of that. Now I'm kind of like, wait a second, but I could. Like maybe that's actually the truth in my life. So the point of this story is really twofold. That like, if you are a person who struggles with adult friendship, I cannot tell you how much I get that on a deeply, deeply personal level. I'm right there with you. And if you ever want to talk about that, if you've got comments, if you've got stories, if something really hit you in this particular story, let me know about it. You can always email me, you know that. You can leave a comment, whatever you want to do. But I wanted to tell a little story of my own so you know you're not the only one. It's something a lot of us struggle with, especially with like all the digital stuff and whatever, and we're just all afraid to like put ourselves out there, which kind of leads me to the other point of this. And yeah, it's applicable to adult friendship, or any kind of friendship really, but also to like a lot of other things. This is very, very useful for all parts of our life, right? And that's kind of what I learned from this whole experience. And the very first thing is like, you don't have to believe what you always believed about yourself, about somebody else, about life, about career, love, any of that stuff. You do not have to believe what you've always believed. And whatever your beliefs are, they've got power, right? So again, this can change how things are happening, how you choose to interact in your daily life, right? And the story can change with that. It can change in an instant. It can slowly shift as you start to work through, again, whatever walls, whatever protections, whatever insecurities you might be dealing with. But the story can change. Like, you can write a new one. You can film a new movie. Do whatever it is. Like, it doesn't have to stay the same, or it doesn't have to keep going in the way that it was going. And honestly, those two things are really, really scary. Like, that still scares me. Again, specific to these instances, like to not only this friendship, but all the rest of them, for me to say, like, to act out of a place of like, this person might want to hear from me more than I feel comfortable getting in touch with, like any version of that, right? Like, that's scary. I might screw up. What if I text people too much? I don't know. You know what? It's probably going to be fine. And doing scary things is what makes us learn and grow and change and evolve and get better as people and find out what's going to work for us, right? Basically, like, living from that place of fear and insecurity isn't helping us. When I look back on it, look at all of the experiences and the amazing things that I missed out on because I was just so scared about it and so in my head about things for all of that time. 15 years. So whatever it is, again, friendship or anything else, basically like fear-based living is so last year. And that's super easy to say, but incremental little pieces. The belief part is kind of a big deal. So I'd love to hear again if any part of this story, any challenges you're having with friendships or relationships or things like that, any of those little points of, you know, you don't have to believe what you always believed. You can always change the story. And man, there's no sense in fear-based living. If any of that resonates with you, I would love to hear any of your thoughts and any stories that you might have. I'm always interested in other people's stories about this stuff. So let me know, and sending love your way, and I will see you next time.